Coming up this week on the Digital Lifestyle Show 821, Gary and Richard are both here. We've got lots to talk about in Microsoft Surface event, so we've got loads to talk about on the various devices, including the new Surface Duo 2. We'll be talking about the latest Windows 11 news as well as we get ready for the release next week. We've got some EV news, Amazon Smart Home news, and lots more. So let's get straight to Richard and Gary. Richard and Gary, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, back once again, and after our Zoom chat last week, that was good fun. So I enjoyed talking to Peter about the Zoom devices.
I caught up with that over the weekend. That was really good. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, definitely. So make sure you check out his link. Well, we've got lots to talk about this week. We had a Surface event last week, which we made our predictions last week, kind of pretty much spoilt by, I think, all the various leaks. It wasn't really good for Microsoft, and the leaks from they didn't keep anything, I don't think, hidden too far behind. But we'll talk about that and Windows 11, and quietly, I think, hit release preview. I would say quietly. I don't think they really trumpeted it. It was just an update on the blog post. We can talk about that. We had some new builds, some EV chat. Now, Gary, you've got an interview for us, and I believe that an Amazon event. So I wanted to see what they were talking about on that as well.
Yep.
So let's talk about the Microsoft event last week. Before we dive into too much of the individual details and what they talked about, first, it seemed that pretty much everything that they talked about had already been leaked this time. There was no one more thing or special thing that they kept hidden back.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe the kind of the paper pen, perhaps, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure I'd heard about that, but everything else was pretty much there. Yeah, it's I did feel bad for them this time. We did discuss it too, didn't we? So it was almost like it wasn't an announcement, because it was just, yep, there it is.
Yeah. So I guess, well, I've got the Microsoft introduction page up on there, so we can have a look at the devices in the order they've got them. Why not? So the first one is what looks like a new form factor, effectively. It's the Surface Laptop Studio. So what's the difference between the Surface Laptop Studio and a Surface laptop?
Well, I guess it's all you could read that as seeing that the Surface Book and Surface Studio are possibly dead now. Maybe because this kind of does it's whereas the Surface Book had the detachable screen, and the Surface Studio had that lovely sort of folding down screen. This seems to be a combination of those two in a laptop form factor, as I understand it. It's about it's a 40.4-inch screen, I think. So it's not obviously, it's obviously nowhere near the size of the Surface Studio's glorious screen, which was very sad to see wasn't released as a standalone product, which was a great shame. But it's that very useful 3:2 ratio as well, which I think makes perfect sense for a laptop. But it kind of, the screen hinges, doesn't it? So you can use it in kind of studio fashion, or you can use it as a laptop, as I understand. Is that about right? And it's a touchscreen, and all of that. And it's kind of their new flagship laptop, because goodness me, they want a lot of money for it. Yeah.
So and I think I don't know. I'll play the video. Can you? I think that's going through the stream. I'm not sure whether the audio is, but yeah, here's a little video of it going through. Let's skip to the bit where it.
I think it's also got the you can specify it with the NVIDIA RTX graphics as well for gaming, and I think it'll go up to 32 gigs of RAM too, which is also, I think, very useful for sort of hardcore coders.
Yeah, it's a good gaming machine. I can't see the benefit of the hinge screen for coders, but for designers, yes, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, the hinge screen. I must admit, I do find that a bit. If you want that, I'd probably buy a Pro 8. I'm not sure. I just don't understand it, but perhaps that's just me being, lacking the vision of this system. But
well, I think the difference between that and the Pro 8 is it's a much more solid design. Yeah. If you're trying to knee it or knee hold it, holding a surface on your knees is challenging.
It's impossible.
Whereas this would work on your knees quite happily. So I think I could see that being quite good. I mean, they were touting the hinge as hinge setup as quite good for gaming as well. What do they call it? Stage mode, I've actually reading Ian's screen here. Stage mode. Yeah, that is what was.
But I mean, but for gaming, you've got to spend over $2,000 just to sort of start the gaming thing, because that gets you the Nvidia. That's a lot for a gaming laptop. I know they can be mad, but that's still.
Let's face it. The Surface is the Apple of the laptop world now.
Yes, I guess you're right. It's just it's a dangerous market for them to compete in. It really is. Yes, I mean, obviously it starts at $1,600, goes up to just over $3,000, depending on how much you load it with. So it's not cheap, but the screen is still gorgeous. I have to say, the screen is a very attractive looking beast.
Yeah, it is a lovely device. And yeah, I just, as much as I think, I'd love to have the flagship one, I just could not see any, not only justification of the specifications, but my use case just doesn't warrant that. I have got a gaming laptop, which tends not to be so much for gaming now. It ends up with my music production device, but I didn't really go crazy with that. I think that was about £900, that one, a couple of years ago, and it's still doing the job just fine for me. But yeah, you really are paying a premium for the Surface name and everything else, the Surface quality, as Microsoft would say. But yeah, I think I like the Surface when it's slim and light, and I'm not sure that's the device for me.
I mean, I think I'd be looking more at the Surface laptop if I was going to go down this path. The folding screen itself feels a bit of a gimmick that you're paying a premium for. In many ways, much like the Surface Book was in previously, although this obviously it's called the evolution of the Surface Book, isn't it? So I guess that means the whole detachable screen that's gone. It's now going to be a folding screen that's attached. I guess they've realised how people use the system. So, but it's not even that innovative, because I'm pretty sure I've seen other laptops with this folding arrangement. Haven't HP done one as well?
Yeah, I think so. I'm sure one of the yoga books had something similar.
So it's not necessarily a innovation, but it is a very attractive looking device. It's very powerful. It makes for more, perhaps a more interesting flagship than the Surface Book, which was just really heavy, and the Surface Studio, which everyone wanted, but let's face it, no one could really justify. I just wish they'd made that Surface Studio screen standalone. I would have been the take my money person if they'd done that.
Yeah, and I think, for, like Gary said, for developers, it's great having all that power there, the processor, the RTX, and everything. Yeah, but you are paying a premium for that.
I can also see loads of YouTube influencers grabbing it, because it'd be great for video editing as well.
Yeah, and I think a couple of times, it would actually be good. Yeah, and I can justify it because I can edit my YouTube videos on it. But then I'm editing YouTube videos on a Surface laptop too, and to be honest, it's doing the job just fine. So I just can't really. I couldn't really justify it. It is a lovely device though, and like you said, they do need to have a premium flagship device, and the Surface Book is probably a bit long in the tooth now. So I think it is nice to have something like that.
I think it's also notable that it's is the only Surface device that starts with 16 gigs of RAM.
Yeah, which is why I think it's a great dev machine.
That's a premium. Yeah, because but it is a fantastic looking device, and I think it's not, for the UK anyway, it's not available to even pre-order yet. I think it's early next year, they were saying, wasn't it?
Yeah, at some point next year.
Yeah. So yeah, we're not going to see a lot of them in the UK. It'll turn up on TV shows. A lot of Surface devices on TV shows.
Yep.
To me, the device that probably makes more sense for a lot of people, while it's not quite as a flagship, is the Pro 8. That does look a nice device. I've still got my Surface Pro 4, and I use that a lot until I got the laptop 2. But actually, this does look like a tempting device. When I added it up, if you buy the Pro 4, so the laptop 4. With 16 gig and 256 RAM, it works out at almost exactly the same price as the Surface Pro 8 with the same RAM and storage plus keyboard.
Oh, yeah.
So when you it's cheaper than the laptop, but then when you add the keyboard back in, I think, to be fair, I added the keyboard in with the pen, the new one, which is 250 quid in itself. So, but if you add those back in, so you do get the pen out of that, but then you still, so they are very similar price actually when you put them side by side. But I think the addition of, it's got Thunderbolt 4 built into it, and the new processors, I think it looks a really nice device.
Yeah, and they've also shrunk down the bezels on the screen too, haven't they? So it's a much nicer screen, I think now. I think the Surface screens have always been a strength of the range, but this is I think a much nicer screen. Puts me in mind of the Pro X actually.
Yeah, it very much is like the Pro X. I actually think this would be a good developer machine, because you've got plenty of power, and you can spec it up with RAM and everything else.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
But you haven't got the other one thing is the lappability. But I never really had an issue with my Surface Pro. Going back to the original Surface RT that I had with the lappability, I've never really too much problem. I think that it's a very close toss up between the Laptop 4 and the Pro 8 now.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I was buying, I'd probably be going down the Laptop 4 route. I think because I mean the Pro 8 and the Pros are very popular. They sell very well. There's no two ways around that. Well, they sell very well relative to the Surface range, but it's certainly it's the flagship of the Surface range. But it kind of always feels to me as though it's a tablet that lacks a decent tablet operating system, because of course you're using Windows 10 and now Windows 11 on it, and with the best will in the world, that feels like, even though you can, I know the taskbars get bigger now and the menus are bigger, but it doesn't feel as slick as Windows 8 did as a tablet OS. So it always feels like it's a device that's now lacking the operating system that it was originally designed for many years ago.
Yeah, I think, and we'll come back to Windows 11, but actually I had a YouTube comment about that, saying, because I did do a separate video on running Windows 11 as a tablet, and someone came back to me and said, well, actually, because I was comparing it to Windows 10, he said if you compare it to Windows 8, it is a step backwards, which is probably true. I know we've mentioned that before. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, Windows 8 was for all its many faults, Windows 8 made perfect sense for Surface Pro. I thought it was great on Surface. It was really good. It was slick, smooth. Everything was. It's still in my mind. That Metro style sort of UI is still, I think, the best I've used on any tablet, including iPads and things. And also the same for Windows Phone. I still think it was a great UI. It's just a great shame it never sort of moved on. I think we'll see its ideas, and we are seeing its ideas sneaking into other OSs as time goes by. But I think it was almost ahead of the game. So the Pro 8, wonderful bit of hardware, but I think I'd probably go Laptop 4 just because it's got a keyboard and it's you sort of put it away easily. And it's just, I don't know, I just prefer it really.
It has got over the Laptop 4 though. You have got the 120 hertz display and Thunderbolt. You do.
It's a good screen, and it's and it is a great screen. As I said, the Surface display has always been superb.
Yeah, so I think it's a nice looking device, and at some point in the future, I want to get a device with more storage and more RAM, really, for when I'm running Hyper-V stuff. So either one of those machines would be nice.
So is this the first Surface in a while where they've changed the form factor a bit? Because I know they promised to maintain the form factor for a few generations, because I see it's now Surface Pro X keyboard compatible. So does that mean they've changed the connectors too? So it's no longer as backwards compatible as it might once have been.
Yeah, I think so. Certainly the USB is now, well, it's Thunderbolt, isn't it? So it's got the USB Type C ports on it. So the arrangement on the left hand, on the right hand side, where you put where the display port is, the mini display port and all that has been the same from the Pro 3 all the way up to this. And I think this breaks that layout of plugs and everything, but it matches the other Surface devices now.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I can remember when the Pro X appeared. I thought, wouldn't it be good if the ordinary Pro was a similar form factor to the Pro X? And here we are. Here it is. It's very similar now. So I guess I've got my wish. Still don't want to buy one, but
it's a little bit better price than the the studio laptop studio.
That's true. Well, I think the laptop studio, perhaps like the book and the studio, is kind of Microsoft saying, look at this, here's what you should be doing. And then the rest of the other ones that are going to actually get sold to corporates. Has the laptop studio got the removable hard disk? I didn't see if that was in there or not.
I don't remember seeing that, no.
Because that's obviously one of the key things for corporate buyers is being able to yank that hard disk out.
Yeah, I can't imagine it being the laptop studio being a particularly good corporate device because it's just because of its cost. I think I'm thinking budgets now with my day job head on. I think I could buy 5 or 6 Dell machines for the price of that.
So the other thing that appeared there as well was the Surface Pro X. They didn't seem to do much to it because I guess it had its SQ2 upgrade recently. But they've just done a Wi-Fi only version of it. Was that about it really? Was anything else around the Pro X? Because I was surprised not to see it Go X either. It just there's still just that one ARM device.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, the Go X is a real surprise to me because, like you said, they mentioned the Pro X, the one without the 4G connectivity, and they updated the Surface Go, but the Surface Go is still the same Intel version. Yeah,
on the Surface Go it's fast, isn't it now?
I think the Go 3 looks a nice device. They say it's 60% faster with the Intel i3. I guess that's 60% faster than the Go 2, which was supposed to be 60% faster than the Go. I don't know.
I'm just going to say lies, damn lies, and benchmarks, and move on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I still use my Surface Go all the time. That's for browsing and surfing and in the evenings or whatever. That is my or in meetings as well. When I do go to real meetings now. Not very often, but that is still the device I would always take because with the pen and the keyboard and everything, it's such a great device. Although
looking inside the tech specs for it is perhaps one of the more significant announcements, which I didn't see coming, which was Windows 11 in S mode.
I think the Surface Go came with S mode. I took it out of S mode.
But I didn't realize S mode was going to carry on into Windows 11.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
you could be right. Yeah.
Came as when I saw that, I thought, hello, that's still a thing. Crikey, S mode thing was on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm going to guess that's what Windows 10X was supposed to get rid of.
Yeah. Do you reckon you'll be able to still sort of switch from S mode to ordinary mode without any hassle?
Yeah, it was. I mean, when I did it on Windows 10, it was straightforward. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, the Go 3 actually looks a nice device. I think the low spec one is like just under, it's £350, but that's the one with 4 gig of RAM, which I think probably nowadays is probably not really that good for Windows 11.
Yeah, I mean, you really need to go for at least the 8 gig version, and 8 gig I think it's unfortunate that 8 gigs is still as high as you can go, which I think is a shame. And I can't believe they're still offering it with the eMMC drive for storage, because I would have thought that anyone who buys, the poverty version is going to have such a terrible experience using Windows on that. Yes, Windows 11 itself, I think, will be snappy enough, but stick some apps on there, or you're going to have a bad time. I mean, if you're in the market for one of those, go for the SSD version and get more memory. Is my advice.
Yeah, the SSD is the one I've got, and it's pretty good actually. So. I wouldn't like to use the eMMC version. I'm surprised we got that, but then it gives you that nice low price.
It does, but it just seems like it's a Surface device. You expect it to have quality, But I've always worried that they've been there, dicing with danger with the Surface name by doing a device that a user could have a poor experience with. Whereas the rest of Surface devices, for all their issues or flaws, or what have you, you're going to have a good experience because they're just going to be quick and fun and nice and it's snappy. Whereas the lowest of the low Surface Go 3, you may not have such a good experience.
And there's a new pen as well, isn't there? It's got haptic feedback.
Yes. So it feels like you're writing with paper. I've not tried one yet. Have either of you?
No, I've not.
So. One of the things the other thing was the Surface Pro 7 Plus, which that appeared earlier this year. That's kind of a beefed up version, which was initially only available for corporate customers. You can now buy that if you're a consumer. And the last big thing I think there was, of course, they've pretty much fixed every whinge that I had about the Duo 2, apart from one.
Yes, they have. So the Duo 2 is it pretty much leaked all the features of it. But the main issues, I still love the Duo. I use it all the time. It's my main phone. But when I go out, I tend to take the Galaxy Note with me for a couple of reasons. NFC pay, so I can do contactless payment, which these days is extremely important. You can almost, you can leave your wallet behind nowadays, can't you? You just use contactless. Yep. And pictures. And if you're taking a picture of something static, the Duo is fine. If it's got good light and I want to take a picture of something in the garden, that's no problem. But if you just want to take a quick picture, then the chances are you've missed it with the Duo, because of the way that you've got to open it, fold the camera the right way around, and so that the camera is on the right side, launch the app, everything else. It's too slow really for anything too quick. So that's why I have the two devices. And really, this does sort that out, because the new Duo has got a much better camera. It's got 3 cameras on it, I think. Well, 4 actually, if you include the front-facing one.
Yeah, exactly. It's got the compulsory 3 that I think all flagship smartphones have now, which is the wide, the wide lens, the ultra wide lens, and the telephoto. Although it's, unfortunately, I say only, but it's only a 2 times optical zoom, whereas obviously your iPhone 13 Pro is a 3 times, which I think is a shame they didn't just go that one step beyond. But yeah, 12 megapixels. So as I said, I think in everything, apart from one thing, they've answered every criticism that I had over the original version. It's great.
Yeah. So, what's the one thing?
Cost a fortune. It's ridiculously expensive. It's mad money still. They've gone back to mad money. It's a real shame. I know other folding phones also command a premium, but I guess, naively optimistic that maybe they would have learned from the price, because they've priced me out of it, because I would have bought that phone. That phone solves almost all of my issues. I happen to think that I prefer the Microsoft approach to folding screens than the Samsung approach, for example. I think it's much nicer having a hinge there. It feels like it's going to last for longer, whereas the other folding phones simply don't feel as robust. But it's just a cost, and just they go on for the same price again. It's what is it, $1,500, I think. Which is just, it's, if you buy, again, Ian, I know we joked about me buying another Apple iPhone, which I really don't want to do. But, they've put that phone in a price bracket above how, you've got to really work hard to spec an iPhone to get it up to that price. And that's just, and I think that's silly. I know it's got two screens, but every other part of it is just not as good, and yet they're asking this ridiculous price. So yeah, that for me is disappointing, because I think the storage only goes up to, is it 512 megs as well, I think? Yeah. So and once you get to 512, to 512 gigs, not megs, gigs.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Gigs.
It's got 32K.
At that point, you're at the $1,800 mark, which is just. Bearing in mind you can spec an iPhone, and again, I'm using the iPhone as a comparison. The reason being, Microsoft has put themselves in that price bracket, so therefore you're going to have this comparison being made, and that's a problem. That's a problem they got. If you put yourself in that price bracket, you're going to have those comparisons made, and that's an issue I think they've got, because there's flagship phones from Samsung and other vendors, which when you spend that kind of money, even all its specs beefed up, I simply don't think the Duo 2 is a sensible proposition compared to what else is out there for that amount of money. If it was just a few $100s cheaper, then great. But as it stands, I'm disappointed with the price. Everything else they fixed, except the price. And
the other stuff that's on it is the Snapdragon 888 processor with 5G.
It's got 5G, it's got NFC, it's got
a bigger screen on there, slightly bigger screen, and it's got this curved edge of the screen, so that when it's closed, you can actually see the screen from the outside, which is going to be interesting to see. So, whereas on mine, you see the hinge on the On this one, you would see the inside of the screen, so they can use that for notifications, which really reminded me of Windows Sideshow.
Yeah, true. But also, hasn't that been a thing on other Android phones in previous years? I know, obviously not dual screen phones, but
I think the Samsung one
curve round to do things. So I'm not sure that's particularly new. I mean, it's much better than that. What's the awful thing they did in the Duo One, where you open the screen a little bit and you could see stuff?
Yeah, you still got that. Yeah,
that was awful. So,
but to be honest, I tend, because I've got the smartwatch, you get the notifications through there anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, there's plenty of little changes to it. Obviously, it runs Android 11. Microsoft didn't mention Android 11 about the original Surface Duo, but they have said that it's coming this year.
Well, they've committed to 3 years of updates for this one, haven't they, as well? So you can buy it, be fairly shortly supported for a while. I mean, it doesn't have wireless charging, does it?
No,
which I think is a shame as well. I mean, that's unfortunate because it means you've got to plug things in and plug things out and have you. So that's a shame. But it's just, I don't know, I'm disappointed because it does everything. It does almost everything that I want. I just can't justify that price at the moment. Perhaps when I'm not quite sure when it's going to come to the UK. I think it's next month,
20th of October. Yeah.
So
21st. Yeah.
We'll see what it looks like when it actually hits the channel, as opposed to being right to the store.
And some of the other things I've heard as well, and saw through that release, was the software has been improved a lot, especially with Android 11. So the things like the new photo app is way better. It's faster. You can get those instant shots, and then there's a nice photo editor sort of built into it as well for touching up your photos, making use of the dual screen as well, which looks good. And I think it's tougher as well. It's been beefed up. Hopefully the USB-C port shouldn't crack now because they've beefed up that exterior.
If they'd done wireless charging, they would need to be worried.
Yeah. What else? Oh, you can charge the Surface Slim Pen through it as well, and you can get a special case for the Slim Pen as well, which I'm sure they'll be really expensive, the add-on cases. But overall, it does sort of solve all, like you said, it does solve all the issues of the original Surface, all the issues that I had with, or still have with the original one. So I think it looks a really nice device, and I'm sure that it'll get a discount at some point next year, and then you'll be okay. As the thing is, as you always mention, will there be a Surface Duo 3, and that will then prove whether Microsoft's sort of commitments to this. But this does seem like a major engineering to update the original device to fix many of the issues. So perhaps a Surface Duo 3 wouldn't need as much work to get it, to get those extra things like wireless charging and maybe the triple optical and those kind of bits and pieces. For the 3, it's not going to be as much of a leap.
Yeah.
Looks a really nice device.
Wireless charging would be a real challenge, actually, in the slim case form factor, because the amount of coils you need for that for a decent speed of wireless charging probably wouldn't actually fit in there unless they come up with something very innovative with that.
Yeah, which I think is probably why. Yeah, exactly why. Because I know the new one is the Duo is slightly thicker than the original one, the one that I've got, but it is very thin when you unfold it like that. So I'm not quite sure where those coils would go. But to me, the camera and the NFC would probably be enough to mean that you don't have to carry the Duo around.
I mean, the NFC thing was essential for Europe, so
yeah, absolutely. So, what would have been nice to see though if Microsoft had done a little wearable as well to go with it, so you can get all the notifications and things like that on the watch. But yeah, exactly. It's kind of like they just abandoned the band just a bit too soon, really. If they just persevered a bit more or made it Android Wear compatible or something, and I know it's not a direction that they want to go in. They've kind of left those consumer type products, but yeah, it just seemed like it would be a great companion product to go with the Duo. If it would work with Teams, I'm sure they'd sell it then. They love Teams, don't they? There was a few other bits and pieces as well. We won't spend too much on, like the ocean plastic mouse, where they're extracting plastic from the ocean and got a new mouse, which seems good. and the adaptive kit was quite good. So so you can use it for people with disabilities. You can sort of put these labels and stickers things on, so you can, people with different abilities can use the device, which seemed a good idea as well. So it was good that they're being inclusive. They've been quite good with that, and this is since the Xbox adaptive controller.
Yeah, it's definitely a big focus of Microsoft at the moment. Brendan Sacker's now in charge of promoting the accessibility side of things, so I think we'll see more and more accessibility stuff being talked about.
Which is, I think, it's. I mean, they've always been, Microsoft has always been very good at accessibility. So it's I wouldn't say it's not a surprise, but it's very good to see, and it's an area in which I think they probably lead, really.
And they probably should shout about it a bit more, because they do some amazing stuff on accessibility.
Oh, they do. I mean, they just obviously we're going off piste here, but I was always very impressed with the Xbox controller they did in terms of making games accessible and inclusive. It was but even little things like the apps and things they did for phones to guide you and tell you what you're seeing. It's all very impressive stuff, I think, and a lot of their apps and OSs now do seem to be coded from the point of view of accessibility first.
So an interesting event, some nice stuff, no surprises unfortunately, and you certainly need to there's certainly no budget devices in the announcement. Maybe the £24 or $24 mouse is the closest we'll get, but yeah, very nice devices. Now, before we go on to other areas, just mentioned Windows 11. I mentioned it in the intro. They didn't make a big deal about this, but Windows 11 has actually hit release preview, which I thought was a pretty major milestone, and they'd be singing about this, but it was just kind of a tweet and an update to one of the blog posts.
There's nothing much more to say there. It's what we talked about last week in the beta channel. It's now in release preview, so which again is a sign they're getting closer to release. I mean, maybe they're starting to backpedal a bit on the whole Windows 11 blurb because of the pushback they've had on the hardware, which has been substantial. I've heard from a lot of people who are extremely unhappy about the hardware. Not vendors, I hasten to add. Hard vendors not unhappy at all.
Surprisingly, yeah.
But certainly end users have come away being quite, I would say almost upset, really, to sort of, machines that were purchased perhaps only 3 years ago that simply aren't going to work now with Windows 11, and that I think is causing a little bit of distress. But so maybe they've backpedaled a bit. Perhaps they're just trying to keep it a bit quieter, and also because there was also the updates to Windows 10 as well, the 21H2 version of Windows 10. So perhaps they're just trying to bring down the volume a bit, so people don't forget that if you can't go to Windows 11, don't worry, because you're still going to get 21H2 Windows 10. That's still going to be developed over the next few years, to be supported for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So don't panic about having to have Windows 11 now, even though obviously all us enthusiasts want it now.
Yeah, and my Raspberry Pi 400 is running the late release preview build, no problems at all.
You had to hack it around.
I did.
Although I will say that my Parallels desktop 1701 on the M1 Mac is still working.
Yeah, so there you go. So it's it works, but yeah, we talked about it a lot. But I think release preview, because it's we're next week, isn't it? Now the release October 5th.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things not working still at the moment. There's a worrying amount of known issues. I know that there was a version of Windows 10 that went live with a whole ton of known issues. There are a few things in there which you do worry. Things like Surface Pro X issues, which you kind of hope would get resolved before it goes live. But they seem to be on track for October the 5th. They're doing release preview there, and as I think we've said before, it'll come out, but it's not going to be forced onto everyone from day one. It'll be trickled down slowly unless you actively go hunting for it. And
I tell you what, it doesn't work. The Surface Dial, if you go into settings in Windows to adjust your Surface Dial settings, it crashes settings.
Sorry, Surface what?
Yeah, exactly. But they've got the feedback. It's in the feedback hub, so I noticed that it was already in there. That I was going to log some feedback for it, but yeah, it doesn't. So your Surface Dial, you can use it for the the basics, but you can't customize it which is what I would normally do, so that I can have like the custom ones for video editing stuff. So yeah, I was going to go and customize it, and I noticed it crashes the app. So.
Well, you can still buy the Surface Dial as an accessory, so I would think that they should support it still.
Yeah, they should. Yeah, and I think they've got the feedback. I think in the feedback hub it says they've got it. So hopefully it'll be fixed soon. But I doubt it'll be fixed for next week. You never know. But perhaps they'll block installs with people anyway with Surface Dial.
Yeah, although there was an update to the dev channel build last week too, wasn't there? They finally fixed the taskbar centering.
Yes. That even though it was purely cosmetic, it was really irritating. So I'm glad they fixed that.
It annoyed the heck out of me, if I'm honest.
Yeah. So that was more or less it with that build, but it was welcome that they fixed that. So yeah, I applied that onto all my machines because it was really annoying. And yeah, I also noticed I also got the new Photos app as well last week, and that's now going out to release preview and beta as well. So it's not really a revolutionary change. It's a nice little update with more Windows 11 sort of style in there.
Yeah, actually, speaking of updates, Gary, I was going to ask you this from a developer standpoint. Have you heard anything more about the Qualcomm ARM kit that was supposed to be coming out around now?
No,
it's gone very, very quiet.
It has gone very, very quiet.
I've been asking around, and it's been tumbleweed.
Yep, I've heard nothing.
So just a bit of background. This was announced a while ago, and it was kind of an affordable way of developing ARM apps. So it's going to be like a desktop box, which would be effectively a Snapdragon. Was it 7C or something like that? It was not a particularly high power processor, and it would allow you to develop Windows on you did develop Windows on ARM apps and things. So, but it does appear to have just disappeared, or I was kind of expecting it to, or hoping it was going to appear at the service event, but nothing there. So I guess maybe would it be Inspire next or Ignite next? What's next one? It's Ignite, isn't it? That's next.
Yeah, but it's more of a developer product though, isn't it? So build would be maybe it's a chip you got to get it built next year.
Built a long way away.
It is a developer thing though, isn't it?
Yeah. So, it's just one of those things. We didn't see much of the ProX at the Surface hardware event. I'm just wondering, where we stand with Windows and ARM, because I was expected to see a Go X, and the lack of a Go X does make me wonder what the future is for Windows and ARM as a consumer type desktop operating system versus what might be run on the servers in the data centers. Because obviously ARM is it's a great chip for the data centers because it's low power, runs cool. It's ideal for there, but obviously we've not really seen much happening on the desktop front, which worries me slightly.
Yeah, web apps, making progressive web apps. In fact, they mentioned that in a blog post today about apps and the App Store, that they've got progressive apps in there. But do you see that they put the Epic Store is in there now? So you can Epic Games Store. So I think it's not the Epic Games themselves, the games from the Epic Games Store, but the store is a storefront is in there.
Oh, cool.
Because they mentioned this a while ago, didn't they? That they were going to allow developers to put different things in there, including third-party stores. So I think they Epic Games and let me find the other. Yeah. Oh, and Amazon. And obviously the Amazon one's going to be important because that's where you'll get the Android apps from. But this is the first time they've allowed third-party stores within the Microsoft Store on Windows. They also mentioned today in that blog post as well that they've got opened up to other apps. So they mentioned like Zoom, TeamViewer, Adobe, LibreOffice, even Visual Studio. So I think the store policies, the changes that they announced earlier this year, are now coming into effect. So, Gary, does it make it more interesting to put your app in there now?
A little bit. I mean, obviously the market's there if it's easy to get to. The problem is people don't look in the store for stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the usage figures on the store are not, well, last time I saw them, and they don't actually publish these, but last things I saw were very low. So by comparison to people looking, say, on the Amazon, on Google Play, or on the Apple Store.
So I suppose if you want something like TeamViewer or VLC or Zoom, you just tend to know to go to their sites and download it. It's not the instinct to go to the store first, perhaps, and that's what Microsoft needs to sort of to encourage and educate.
Yeah.
But I suppose having access to other stores in there just make it a one place to go for anything. So maybe that over time, by being open, I guess as a developer, you're just pleased that they're opening the policies that make things, give you more options.
Yeah, I love that. That's really good.
And the revenue model can be different as well, can't it? Depending on what option you use.
Which is nice. Very nice, in fact.
Yeah. So it is probably the most open store of any of the platforms now. It's just probably one of the least used because people just got used to other ways. It's like anything if I wanted to download Power Toys, I would just go to the Power Toys. I'd probably Google Microsoft Power Toys, get to the page and download it from there, or Google or Bing it.
Or Bing it, yes.
Yes. But it's good that it's open anyway. That's good to see. So, and that's part of Windows 11. And I think they are bringing that to Windows 10 as well in the future. So the new store is available in Windows 11, but they are going to backport that to Windows 10. So that was all the Microsoft type news I wanted to get this week. Before we go to the EV stuff, both you mentioned about an Amazon event, so I wasn't sure about this. So what was this today? Amazon smart home hardware type event?
They do one of these every year, so where they launch all the new Amazon she will not be named type of devices and other bits as well. And obviously over the years they've acquired more manufacturers. So they obviously acquired Ring, they've acquired Blink over the years. So the announcements from them as well. So this year we have a few things. We've got the Amazon Astro home robot, which is basically an Echo Show stuck on the top of a robot, which roams around your house with a cute face, taking pictures of you. I mean, they say they've covered the privacy stuff on this, and it all integrates into the Ring alarm system, which is really only available in the States. So it's not going to. I don't see this ever making it to the UK. It's one of these ones where you can request. You can request the right to order it, which is always nice. And they will send invites out to people who they like, basically, on that, who request it, and then you can try it. It's $1,000, so it's not cheap, but I mean it looks cute. It does do what some people want, which is certainly bigger houses in the States, having a roaming patrol type guard is something which is becoming a common thing to see, and some of those are really expensive. So I think that this is something that they've tried. I mean, they announced last year the Ring drone. I don't remember that, with the flying around thing, which never really got released. Although you can again request to order that now. That's the second version that has been announced today. The other things which have been announced, this one actually is quite interesting. The Amazon Glow. This is basically a projector for kids with a screen on it, and it's one of these touch projectors, so it projects down onto the surface and it gives you touch, but it's got loads of games which they've licensed from people like Disney and Mattel and stuff, which you can play with it. And the other person at the other end of the call, so your grandparents or whatever, your grandkids, can actually interact using a tablet with the kid who's playing on this touch surface. Looks quite good. $250, so it's not actually horrendously expensive compared to some of these items. I mean, certainly not Microsoft pricing. I'm sure Microsoft would have had that about £20,000, like probably about $2,000, and called it a studio. But yeah, it looks quite interesting. There's a Mickey Mouse Amazon Echo Show, so you can have a stand which turns Alexa into a Mickey Mouse. Not sure really that, but that goes with this new skill they've got in America, where you can actually say "Hey Disney" and do that, which I know is a big thing out there.
Oh right, yeah.
They've announced a new Echo Show, which is quite. I actually think this is probably the most interesting device from my point of view. It's a 15-inch version of the Echo Show. So this is an Echo Show you hang on the
Right.
wall. And it comes with the new UX they've been sort of kind of touting for the last few months. You might have seen bits of this appearing on your normal Echo Show, which is Echo widgets. So the
Yes,
idea
I've
is
seen those, yeah.
you can actually just put parts of your screen over to big widgets, and things they showed were like you can use post-it notes. You can leave voice, so you can do a voice command to leave a post-it note showing on the screen. You can have a shared family calendar. It is that sort of shared family. It's the sort of thing. You remember the old Samsung fridge with the screen on the front, which was meant to be shared. So it's that sort of thing. But it does have a mode where it turns into basically into a picture frame. So you can have it sort of like passively sitting there as a frame, and then when you walk up to it, it recognises you and turns itself into the right mode. Yes. So this uses the new AI chip, the AI2. I think it's something like that anyway, because the new Echoes came with AI1, which they didn't turn on in the UK, which is really annoying, to be able to do local processing properly. I think they may have turned them on now, but this actually does vision processing locally, so it's good for privacy. You're not nothing's being sent back up to the cloud to do that. It's able to handle that, and it's then able to customize the display based on who's walked up to it. So you can have different contents for your kids, to you, to whatever, and you can then also do things like having your own calendar, and I could leave a post-it note for my other half, and she could then leave one back to me, and as you walked up you'd see those things. So it works really well, I think, in that respect, and it's a form factor I know some people have asked for. It's not that expensive. I mean, for a 15-inch screen at just over $250, or actually might be $249 as well. It's not hugely expensive for that size of screen with that sort of thing. And I think it actually adds something to the whole Echo Show device lineup, because I think we've had a UX now for the Echo Show which hasn't really changed that much in years. It's the rotating list of information, whereas this actually allows you to do something with it. I think it becomes more of that shared home center. So I think that's good. I think that's a good addition. Then there's a few other things. They've got a new Fitbit clone in the Halo View, which is basically undercutting Fitbit, but it looks very much like the Fitbit smart band. One thing which they did announce, which I think is very interesting, especially if it did come to the UK, is the smart thermostat. Just because of the price of it. I mean, this is a smart thermostat that does all the stuff that works, which normally works with Alexa to control your temperature, etc. Uses the Alexa Hunches thing, which allows it to guess what you might want the temperature at and work that way. And this thing is actually going to be $59.99. It's about £45. So which is about half the price of virtually any other smart thermostat out there. Which is interesting, and probably shot across Google bowers with the best. Yeah. So and it looks good, and it's built by a really solid company in Honeywell. So and they know what they're doing with those sort of devices. So I think it's good. It integrates fully in Astro. So I think that's a good thing to see that they've actually done that. One you might be interested in, because I know you've been quite a fan of the Blink cameras. They've actually launched a Blink doorbell, which I think will come to the UK.
Oh right, yeah, because that's something I like. The Ring, I always found the Ring doorbell a bit big and clumsy for, maybe it's the British front doors are a bit smaller, but it always felt a bit chunky for me.
Yeah, so the Blink doorbell is going to arrive sometime soon. 2 years of battery life, they reckon. So that's struck me as quite good. So yeah, that was pretty interesting to see that coming together.
It's because my Blink cameras are still working on the same batteries now. It must be over 4 years. I can't think
I've changed mine once in 4 years.
Yeah. Although I think the camera on my outdoor one is starting to pack up. The batteries are fine. The camera has lost one of its color channels, so everything's purple now.
What I also found interesting was the price of that Blink video doorbell. And you want to guess?
Oh, see, but Blink are good prices, aren't they? So yeah, I don't know what. Say $60.
I'm going to say $49.
You're almost spot on, Richard. $49.99.
Yeah, because the cameras are surprisingly cheap for what they are.
Yeah. I think that's really the interesting thing is although it's a good competitor for Amazon's main competitor, Google, with the Nest cameras, it's also a really good competitor for their own brand of ring. which strikes me as they're undercutting their own product. But then I guess Ring's got a different type of market, perhaps.
And I've just checked; it is available in the UK. Pre-order soon for £49.99.
Yep.
And actually, I'll share the screen because I think this is quite interesting.
I had not looked at the price. I just guessed it. That was a complete guess.
Yeah, so there it is, and if it looks a lot slimmer than the Ring one. I think, well, that's I'm sharing the screen now, but the Ring one looks quite wide, and that does look much more slimmer, which is probably a better fit for my front door anyway, because it's got a narrow part where you have the doorbell. So yeah, I think that would replace the for that price. I'd definitely be interested in one of those.
Yeah, I think that's a good looking product.
Yeah, I like that. I think that might go on my list. Although I've got the Arlo camera at the front door anyway, so it's not really essential for me because the doorbell goes, but the Arlo camera picks them up anyway. But it would be good to have that on there as well, as long as it's not too bulky. So I think I might see if I can review one of those.
Picture doesn't make it look too bulky. It's like a top of your thumb, isn't it? Which is quite good.
Yeah, so
I've seen normal doorbells which are actually thicker than that.
It is worth noting, of course, you do need a sync module too, which I haven't got right now to make that work.
Oh yeah, I don't know what my sync module is. I've got.
Yeah,
I don't know which way.
I think you need to get a new sync module because my one's a one. It's a few years old. So I mean, if you bought some Blink gear in the last few years, you should be okay. But I think older than that, then there's a good chance you might need to get a new sync module, which is, as they say, sold separately.
You can. They do say you can use it without the sync module with the cloud subscription, so you have got a choice. And they are giving you a free cloud subscription to start with. So
yeah, we'll see. I'll definitely gonna have a look at try one of those out. So it's not. It's an interesting. I think having something at your front door is really handy. Even if it's just seeing if it was the postman or whatever. I use ours a lot for that.
I would also, again, this is just a voice of caution here. It's the same as Ring, really. Just be aware of the security and privacy around it as well. Because it's one of the things that's why the sync module 2 appeals to me because it's local. Whereas if it goes up in the cloud, then you need to be aware of where your data is going and where it's being stored. If that matters to you, you need to obviously be aware of that. It's all the same.
Yep, absolutely. Not that Amazon would do anything with your data, but there we go.
Although I'm still, I'm still perturbed about this pizza oven. I mentioned, I can't remember who was talking to me about pizza ovens, and then mysteriously, I'm now being sold pizza ovens on every website I go to. It's like, do you want to know
I talked about it.
It was you, wasn't it? We sat in the pub and you talked to me about pizza ovens, and now everywhere I go, I'm being sold pizza ovens. It's your fault, Ian. Thanks for
that. So I did an interesting test on this about a couple of years ago. I can't remember what we actually used as the test word, but I tried saying something in front of the Amazon devices, whatever product it was, and nothing popped up. No, I got no prompts for it or anything else. I said the same thing with my phone on the desk in front of me, and within 2 minutes, Facebook was advertising it to me. So Google's always listening.
Yeah, Google. Yeah, that's probably true. Now, just before we finish and hand over to your interview, you've got, well, first of all, you've got an interview coming up for us, Gary.
Yeah, so someone's been on the show quite a few times, Dan Caesar from Fully Charged. I met up with him at the Fully Charged outdoor event, and I thought it was really interesting with all the stuff we're talking about with energy prices and everything, the so-called energy in quotes crisis going on at the moment. That Dan's series he's done for Fully Charged on the Home, which he was talking about last time he was on, he's now finished, and we talk a bit about that. And that's a brilliant series. I highly recommend anybody who's looking at ways of saving energy, which probably is a really good idea at the moment with the way costs are going, and they're only going one way, they're going up. I mean, if anybody's ever looked at the pricing of electricity in the rest of Europe and probably the rest of the world, realise that we've been somewhat artificially low for a very long time. So I would expect electricity prices to go up significantly over the next few years, and gas, obviously. Because some of the stuff he's talking about, I think, is really, really interesting, and some of this are really simple ways of saving a lot of money on fuel and electricity costs. So definitely worth that. And we talk about that, but we also talk about Fully Charged Outdoor as well, and what was going on the day there. And that's quite an interesting chat anyway, about some of the logistics of the stuff around that sort of show, and how they manage that. And also an announcement on when the next show, Fully Charged, is coming out as well, which is on there. So that's a really interesting interview coming up with him later.
Okay, excellent. Is there any other EV news you wanted to just go through before we head over to that?
Well, yes.
Chat?
So I mentioned something a couple of weeks back when I was on about Osprey. We're about to make some announcements, and they've made a huge announcement on hubs they're going to be installing around the world. around UK. So starting with one in Wolverhampton, but these are using a technology from a company called Kempower, which allows them to put a lot more chargers in using the same grid connection as they would have done. So where before you might have only been able to get 2 chargers in, they could probably get 6 chargers in. Where you could get 4 chargers in, they get 12 chargers in. And these are a really clever bit of technology, because they basically allow the charge, each car which is charging, to share the whole power which is coming into that site. And as we've mentioned before, charging has a pattern with cars. At certain levels of charge, at certain temperatures, you can charge faster than you can later on in your charge cycle. So basically, if I was to turn up and start charging, and then you when you finally get an EV, you turned up 20 minutes later and started charging, we would both get the amount of charge we need to our cars without using the peak amount that the grid is defined at. And this actually cuts the cost down for installing these, because everything's defined by the peak power you actually get into the grid. Really clever stuff. And they've actually committed to doing a load of these all around the country. A lot of them by the end of this year, and these hubs are going to have multiple chargers, and are all in really prime locations with always just the food stores and everything, and also in very good locations where there's limited charger supply at the moment. So this is really good. I think it's going to be very interesting to see this expand, and we have got an invite to go to see the first one of these next month when it actually opens, because that's the plan anyway at the moment. And if they get their plan together and get these by the end of the year, this coupled with what Grid Server doing the services, it's just going to make it so much easier to charge. It's going to be, I mean, it's going to take any of that charger anxiety. I've never had range anxiety, but I have occasionally had charger anxiety when wondering chargers are going to work or not. But certainly that's going to take all of that away. And coupled obviously with the longer range EVs coming out as well. And the other great thing is that this week I'm going to be recording an interview with Ian, from the CEO of Osprey, all about this. He's going to talk all about their plans and give us some insights. So that should be coming up in a future show.
And of course, the good thing about having a petrol or diesel car is you don't have that anxiety of running out of fuel, because fuel is just ready, available anywhere you need it.
This week has answered a few questions. One thing I actually think this week has really answered is the question which the statement I always get when I talk about EV. But what if everybody wants to charge at once? Well, the thing is, we can't cope at the moment if everybody wants to fuel at once. Yeah, so it doesn't happen normally. Normally, nobody goes to get the same fuel at the same time. So that's a bit of a non-issue, I think.
Yeah. And I think the tip is that if you've got a product you want to shift some of, just tell everybody it's in short supply and you might run out soon, and don't panic, because it does seem to be a good way of selling things.
Yeah.
Be it toilet roll, flour, or fuel.
Yeah. This podcast is in short supply, and
well, there is a limited amount. We have got a limited amount of this podcast until we get some more delivery drivers. So listen to it while you can. But we will be giving it away free. But just remember, short supply. It's amazing, isn't it? But that's probably a whole subject for another podcast or another show about the psychology of people with supply issues or supply constraints. But that's what I did see. I was expecting you just to come on the show this week, Gary, and just with a smug face and just sit there. We can't see you on video tonight, but I imagine you to have a fairly smug face at the beginning of the show this week as you watch people panicking and queuing up.
Actually, I didn't. I know a lot of my fellow EV drivers have been volunteering this week to help get people like emergency services in because this is pure stupidity this week. I mean, there's no crisis, there's no shortage. It's maybe some petrol stations were a little bit lacking in supply, but there's loads of people now carrying around way more fuel than they need to carry, and so it's crazy. It is crazy. Okay.
And I'll say, and then also on that note, if you are carrying around more fuel, please think about what you're carrying around in. I saw one person trying to put fuel into those plastic bags they put goldfish in, and it was not. It didn't end well. It dissolves plastic bags.
There's definitely some lack of common sense around, but I don't have that problem with electrons. They don't tend to go. They only tend to go in one place.
Your electrons aren't leaking. You're okay.
Yeah, my electrons.
Well, I think we should head over to the interview. So, Gary, where can we find you?
You can find me on Fascinating Tech. We've got a couple of critical articles out there. I'm getting ready for our end of year gift guide now. God, that's come around quickly. And also on Twitter at Gary WMA, 2 R's.
And excellent. And Richard, where can we find you?
Twitter at Richard_Speed.
We'll head on the interview with Dan, and we'll see you next week.
Dan, great to see you again.
Well, it's great to see you again in person. I can't believe it.
This is amazing. This is amazing. So we didn't speak that long ago, but
we did. Yeah, thank you for having me on again. Yeah, I'm very honoured, but I think the occasion merits it. The industry is together again, and it's great. It's fantastic.
And this place is just amazing.
We really liked this venue. I mean, say it publicly. We loved launching the show at Silverstone, and really we outgrew it quite quickly. Yeah. And that's the be all and end all. And so we came to Farnborough. It's a huge indoor exhibition space, which ironically we're barely using this year because of COVID. But next time the show comes, we'll use it, all of the indoor, all of the outdoor. And one of the good things, I've got plenty of feedback, and they quite like the outdoor festival feel as well, which is great. So we'll keep that. That was one of the reasons we looked at Farnborough, because it's got both great indoor space, great outdoor space. And I would say to anyone who follows Fully Charged, we'd want to do one in the north as well. We just have been a bit waylaid by the pandemic.
Absolutely. I know that's always been part of your plan.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to get on with that. But unfortunately, all plans have gone to a swear word.
But you have got plans, because the next release of this is now scheduled.
So we're going to do it at the end of April next year. The original timeline really was kind of late spring, early summer. We were very comfortable in that timeline. Obviously, again, pandemic meant that we had to kind of duck and dive to find a dateline that we thought was going to work, which was just after the summer holidays and just before schools got back. So we've been very grateful to have that timeline, and it's worked out well. But actually organising something in August is horrible for all concerned, because people are away.
It's very difficult.
And their head's not in the game. So we're really pleased with the end result. But I'd rather run it at a different time of year if we can. So it's April 29th, 30th, and 1st of May, back at Farnborough next year. So to my team, when I finish this show, I could say, right, 240 days to the next one.
I'm not sure if you're a sucker for punishment or what.
No, I totally am. But I think I'm a really hard worker. Robert's got a great work ethic as well. The whole team has.
You can see the ethos.
We will do things a bit differently next year. We'll probably outsource some of the event operations. It's too big for us. On top of the channel, and really I want to grow the channel as well, as you know.
Which you are, of course, and we spoke about your home series kicking off when we
yes, we did, And
it was just launching, and now it's done.
That's done. So we filmed that from March to May, June, and really pleased with the reception that's had. We wanted to do like an entry level series. A lot of our audience are very familiar with home energy. but we also want to get people in who don't know where to begin. I think the bulk of the UK population are quite interested in this, but don't have a clue where to start. So very happy to have done that. But yeah, I mean, I was talking to someone about it earlier, and the funny thing is you don't see the externalities. So you see what we put out, and you might go, oh well, there wasn't enough, taking the front off a heat pump and looking at it. And I said to someone earlier, well, what you didn't see was we did about 12 different filming days for that series, and it rained on 11 of them.
Yeah.
So I actually spent a lot of time sat here talking to people, and that was never the
plan.
But there was the weather, and what can you do
You
about that? So, but everyone sees the end result. So, I mean, I'm not being defensive. The response has been very, very good to that, and hopefully we'll do more. That's certainly the intention.
I was certainly very impressed.
Good. Okay.
Being of a certain age, it reminded me so much of Tom Moore's World.
All right. Well, good. I mean, we I mean, home energy is a big thing for people. I think the car is done. It's going to be electric. The grid is done. It's going to be clean energy sources. It's now heating is the big elephant, and we're very passionate about that, and we hope to carve out a niche as we've done in the other areas.
And I certainly see that going. I mean, the content there was really good. I mean, there's a lot of heating skeptics in my family, and I've been pointing them all in the right direction.
Oh, great!
That's good. So I think that's definitely swaying some minds, which is good to see. Because I mean, and part of the reason I said to Moore's World, it was that very easy intro to a subject that's very complicated. Which is, I think,
I actually think that's quite a skill. I mean, it's interesting because there were quite a few of our audience members. I mean, the response has been great, but quite a few of the real kind of really energy savvy audience members that we have, and we have many, were like, I wanted you to get into this technology in much more detail, and I was like, we will,
but not now.
But let's start the story
in the right
place. And I have a background of working with lots of engineers, but I'm a communicator. And I think one of the things Robert's done incredibly well, he's everyman. He makes difficult things accessible. So for the home series, we thought, well, actually, let's start there. Let's make it accessible. It's a bit of a whistle-stop tour. How can you cram all that into 6 episodes? So, but turning something complex and making it simple is actually quite a difficult thing to do. So we're very proud of it, and hopefully we'll be doing more and more in that area. I quite enjoyed it, but if Robert wants to do them, I'm very happy for him to do them as well. But it was good. It was kind of like, I'll regret if I never do it. It was that kind of thing. So I really enjoyed it, but I'm getting recognised a lot more on site, which is weird. Very strange.
People know you now. You say,
that's right.
Last few times we've interviewed, you've been the man behind the scenes.
Exactly.
That's
right.
Front and centre, but in a very good way. It's very, very enjoyable. So, and I think expanding the channel into that area is a natural. It makes an awful lot of sense. And we know we spoke last time about your ambitions for the channel and how growing it. And I mean, I love the new presenters you're bringing on board, and I know you were just chatting away to my friend DB side and talking about the dynamics of that. And it must be an interesting challenge bringing new people on board.
It is. I mean, Robert found Elliot. Elliot's our Chinese presenter, and he's been brilliant.
Yeah, he has. Absolutely.
He's been absolutely brilliant, and YouTube is great because you can speak directly to the audience, and I don't think Elliot would have got a chance maybe to present on a polished TV show, and I wouldn't, frankly. But he's very good.
He's really good,
and he's really grown into the role, and people are very interested in the content. And what we took away from it is he's just genuine, knows the subject, audience like it. That's the end of it. More recently, we've taken on Jack Scarlet. Who was someone who had been on our radar for a little while, but because last year was a bit of a write-off, we didn't have the ability to get new presenters in, and Robert had to present like 12,000 episodes. So Robert was delighted to have Jack on board, and Jack's been brilliant. And is obviously a lot younger than Robert and I, and does things in a different way, but in a superb car presenter. And we have lots of great presenters, and name check for Helen Chersky, who's absolutely phenomenal. We're so lucky to have someone of that calibre on the channel, and we love doing the lithium stuff and the battery recycling stuff and the cobalt stuff, and it's great evergreen content, isn't it?
It is,
because that really should be something that could be watched for a few years, So yeah, we're very, very fortunate. It's great to not have to fly, and we can call up on people elsewhere. And we've been getting an international team ready, really, for the moment that we get to scale up as a business. So it is good, and we're very fortunate. We've got a very, very good group of team in front of the camera and behind. But Robert's made good choices, I think. He's good at picking talent. And I think, I contribute to that, of course. We have a very talented production director called Ben who contributes to that, and we have a great production team, great business team, great events team, and I think Robert's been astute in who he's picked. It's like being a football manager. Robert wouldn't like that analogy because he doesn't know much about football, but he's got to pick the right people and let them get on with it. And I'm very happy to admit, okay, I'm quite good at stuff, but oh my God, that person's really good. Let's get them in and let them shine. And I think from our point of view, we were just waiting for this event to come back because financially that's so important to us. Unfortunately, that's me being candid, but that's the reality.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I totally get that. I mean, it's having some involvement in the event industry, knowing what the last year, 2 years has been like. It's been a nightmare, but it's good. I mean, this today must be just so relieved, so much a relief, but also such a joy as well to see.
Yeah, it is fantastic, and the problems we've had we've been busy. Yeah, that's the problems we've had. Again, trouble feeding everyone quickly, trouble getting everyone in. So these are the good problems, right?
World's biggest EV traffic jam.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's it's really really amazing to see everyone, and from our point of view, it's far better than digital feedback. I have some amazing people I know on Twitter, for example, and far more good people and positive people or constructive people than the opposite. But it's just not the same. The ability to see people physically, I think we can all work more from home in the future, but to not see people at all,
hybrid lifestyle, I think.
It's hybrid. Yeah, that's the only time I'm in favour of hybrid living. But
it's not. It's very, very true. It's always with these events. If you get them, it's a success when you have problems. And that's basically where you are. I mean, food people were getting a bit frustrated with, but that happens on these sort of sites like events. And I was talking to one of the food vans, and they completely underestimated because they didn't realise it would be as popular.
Well, there's a story there, and actually it's not just this venue, it's every venue I've ever worked with Fully Charged. Fully Charged has a big audience actually, and an audience that like to stay for the whole day as well. And they like to eat maybe a couple of times while they're here, right? And a lot of shows, people come in for a couple of hours and then buzz off again. This is not like that, and so we have said to it, the previous venue and the current venue, you have underestimated it, and every time, even if they don't until they see it. They don't realise it.
That particular food van is can put more stuff on tomorrow. So
I think we're bringing some more stuff in tomorrow. But that's a great thing, isn't it? And then the local travel network, I think, was under a bit of strain.
I think a lot of strain this morning, but
we'll figure that out, and we'll have a meeting straight after this show to work out how we improve that for tomorrow. I mean, these are not the problems that bother me. We can fix all that, right? If no one comes and you've got nothing to show, that's the problem.
I still go back to that first morning on the first Fully Charged. I sit next to Bobby.
I'll never forget that.
And look in the car park, and he was just sitting there thinking, "Is anybody going to come?" He actually said to me, "Is anybody going to come?" And of course, then the car park started filling up and filling up and filling.
I will never forget that because everyone was kind of. I don't want to be derogatory about our audience, that would be a fatal mistake, but everyone was like licking the windows to get in because it was the first physical manifestation of Fully Charged. I will never forget that, and I'll never forget Robert, going, "Wow, I didn't think anyone would come." And I say, "No, I've got people to come to stuff far less good than this one, actually." This is great. It's, it's what people want, and you can see the number of cars here is just astonishing now. So I'm looking forward to having
have a good nose round.
A wander around.
Because you haven't really had a chance today.
I haven't, No,
I've managed to get out for an hour, so in between interviews, and it is amazing out there. And you've got all the cars what people want to see. I mean, if you've got a Model Y, how did you manage that?
Nothing to do with me. We didn't know it was coming until very, very late on, and I think it was someone from Europe brought it over. But
Very
you know, it's
impressive.
good to have that. I mean, Nissan Aria,
Nissan
first time
Aria,
that's been seen here. They've got the Hyundai Nexo fuel cell car here as well. I noticed from a picture. I've not seen it, but I've seen a picture. They've got some brilliant cars. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Hyundai Ioniq 5, the Kia EV6, the Polestar 2, VW's new cars. You know, it's not just look at Tesla anymore.
No.
Tesla still has a bit of an advantage, particularly the supercharger network, but it's not just that now. You could come here now and you could be torn.
Yes.
What shall I buy? And that's a big transformation from 2 years ago.
It is huge. I mean, I'm thinking of that as well. I mean, I've obviously got the iPace, and that's coming up for renewal. And when I bought the iPace, it was the only car that fitted in my bill, other than Tesla. And that was a bit of a choice. But the main reason I didn't go for the Tesla, it didn't fit my garage, which is planning permission type stuff. But now I've got choices for loads of cars, and it's just amazing to see them all here, which is great. There's just Nissan, which hasn't been shown anywhere else.
Yeah, I've not seen it yet. I'm going to have to rectify that.
You're going to have to queue. It takes ages. But I think they were saying it was almost like an hour queue to get to see it at one point.
Oh wow, that's amazing. Okay, that's great. We're doing quite well then.
You are doing quite well. And the people it's packed out there, really.
It's been great. Tomorrow will likely be busier.
Yeah.
And we're obviously trying to get people to come along on Sunday as well. We're doing something. We planned it a long way out. We just haven't announced it today, but we're going to offer key workers free tickets on Sundays.
Oh, that's fantastic.
We wanted to do it, but you kind of, if you do it too early, you kind of shoot yourself in the foot, so to speak. But we wanted to do it, so we've had that ready. So we're going to try and people have been looking after us.
Yeah, let
them come and have a look around.
So that's brilliant. I love that idea of giving a bit back. It's always
we'd hopefully we'll do more of that. Really, we've had to not be selfish, but when financially you're just looking out for your own survival, you kind of go into that mode where I've got to look after me and the team.
Yeah.
And Robert and I said when the pandemic broke, let's keep everyone in the business. Let's work out how we do it, and it was incredibly difficult to do that.
Yeah.
But we've managed to do that. So we had to say goodbye to one person who maybe we'll welcome back at some point, but that person, she found a job seconds after that decision was made, and then we have got 2 more people in, so we're actually slightly bigger than we were going to the pandemic, which is something of a small miracle, and now we can kind of grow again. But fundamentally it's all about Robert's a really kind person, and we want the business to be like that too. So it's been nice.
A lot of, you can see that Robert's personality just shines through the whole company. That's really good. We are. I always say that we're just so fortunate, So I know that, and my biggest complaints are people talk about self-charging hybrids. I mean, what is it in the scheme of things? Dan, thanks so much for joining me again.
It's a pleasure, and I hope to do it again.
Yeah, we definitely will do it again. Obviously leading up to the next show, but before then, hopefully, we talk about new plans and things.
Much appreciated.
Take care. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Let's do that.